Sit back and throw one back with your pinky in the air and a middle finger to the world, and join me, the eclectic gentleman Stephen Watts, as we look back on this day in pro wrestling history. But before we do, put that drink down, like, share, and subscribe, and without further ado, let's get our wrestling history on. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it is June 19th, and we're going to start off as we always do on a positive note. That's right, these are your pro wrestling birthdays. 1938, one of the men with the hardest chops of all time, Wahoo McDaniel. 1952, luchador legend El Canek. 1955, former ECW president Todd Gordon. And last but not least, 1978, Canada's own Tyson Ducks. Of course, on the flip side of that coin, your pro wrestling deaths for June 19th. 1957, catch wrestling legend Tom Jenkins. 1997, Stan the Man Stasiak. All right, enough of the sad stuff. It's time to get to the meat and potatoes. That's right, these are your pro wrestling history highlights for June 19th. Jumping in the Wayback Machine and going all the way to 1939, where we see Leroy McGurk defeat John Swininski to win the World Junior Heavyweight title in Hollywood, California. Jumping ahead 9 years to 1948, the current National Wrestling Alliance was formed as promoters Sam Mushnick, Fred Collier, Wally Carbo, and others joined with President Pinky George, who had been promoting under the NWA name since 1946. This time leaping 11 years to 1959, Fred Blassie defeats Dick Gunkel, aka Dick Steinborn, for the Florida version of the NWA's Southern Heavyweight title. A 10-year jump this time to 1969, where we see Dick Murdoch and K.O. Cox defeat Luke Brown and Tor Kamada in Kansas City, Kansas, to win the NWA North American Tag Team titles. Grabbing my bell bottoms and going to the 70s, 1971, Bonnie Watson defeats Ella Waldick for the NWA Florida Women's title in St. Petersburg, Florida. 2 years later in 1973, the Lumberjack defeats Mighty Mongol to win the NWA Gulf Coast Heavyweight title in Mobile, Alabama. Moving half a decade to 1978, where we see Dusty Rhodes defeat the Spoiler in West Palm Beach, Florida for the NWA Florida Heavyweight title, beginning his 7th reign. Just 1 year later in 1979, Pat Patterson defeats Ted DiBiase to win the WWF North American Heavyweight title in Allentown, Pennsylvania. Grabbing my boombox and making 2 stops in 1983, first Buck Zumhofe defeats Mike Graham for the AWA World Light Heavyweight title in Hamburg, Minnesota. Our second stop in 1983, Mr. Wrestling 2 defeats Larry Zbyszko to win the NWA National Heavyweight title, ending Zbyszko's 2nd reign. Our final stop in the 80s, 1986, Antonio Inoki defeats Dick Murdoch in the finals of the annual tournament for the IWGP Heavyweight title in Tokyo, Japan, marking Inoki's 3rd win of the belt. Our final stop of the day, 1993, the Steiner brothers defeat Money Inc., Ted DiBiase and Erwin R. Shyster for the WWF World Tag Team titles in St. Louis, Missouri. This would begin the Steiners' 2nd and final WWF Tag Title reign, and also end the run of 3 tag title changes between the 2 teams over 5 days. Those were your short but sweet pro wrestling history highlights for June 19th. I'm the eclectic gentleman Stephen Watts, and we'll see you tomorrow.